It is possible to experience moments that go beyond the typical exhilaration of competition on the stage of the voice, which is where vocal prowess and genuine emotion come together. Performers are able to leave their mark on history when they possess that something special, something that cannot be evaluated only based on their technique. During the blind auditions of The Voice Season 27, Dan Kiernan, a young singer who possesses an exceptional vocal range and a contagious charisma, took the stage. This was exactly the situation that occurred. It was Dan's interpretation of Panic that earned him the very first RPI of the season. His performance was nothing short of spectacular, and it was the start of the season. High Hopes, the legendary anthem made famous by At the Disco. The song that Dan Kiernan was singing was not merely a performance, rather, he was putting his whole being into it. Due to his captivating stage presence and soaring vocals, he was able to immediately attract the attention of the coaches, which resulted in them pressing their buttons and turning around one by one. It was a moment that would leave an indelible mark on the vocalist as well as the competition. The trip that Dan was taking on The Voice had only started, but his blind audition had already set a high standard, and the audience couldn't help but get the impression that this was the beginning of something very remarkable. A courageous decision during the audition. Dan made a daring choice in terms of the song that he chose to play. Dan's performance was a reflection of the traits that are reflected in the song High Hopes, which is an enthusiastic and dynamic anthem that is full of hope and optimism. The song, which was initially performed by Panic at the Disco, is well known for its anthemic chorus and its fast-paced rhythm, which makes it a music that is both demanding and enjoyable to sing. Although many people would have been hesitant to take on such a significant song, Dan was not scared by it. The potential to display his vocal ability, and more significantly, his one-of-a-kind sense of personality, was something that he felt as the ideal vehicle for doing so. When the first notes of High Hopes began to play, Dan's energy was immediately noticeable and could be felt by everyone. He was the master of the stage, his presence undeniably captivating as he moved with self-assurance and authority. It was his voice, with its soaring range, that reverberated across the room with an infectious vibrancy that pulled listeners in. From the very first line, it was obvious that Dan was not simply singing a song. Rather, he was conveying a story about tenacity and resilience, a theme that struck a chord not only with the coaches but also with the crowd. It became clear that Dan was more than just a singer as he pushed his way through the high-energy verses and the rousing chorus of the song. It was a performer who he was. Through the use of his stage presence and vocal dynamics, he was able to create an experience that was truly unforgettable. He was able to seize the attention of the audience and keep it in the palm of his hand. Not only was his performance technically outstanding, but it was also emotionally charged, full of passion, and filled with enthusiasm. Reactions from the coaches, a turning point in the story. Dan's performance continued to impress the coaches, and they started to take notice of him. Michael Bublé, who is well known for his silky vocals and exquisite flair, was the first person to spin his chair. During Dan's performance, Bublé, a seasoned performer who has years of experience working in the music industry, noticed something that struck out to him: his energy and charm. Bublé praised Dan's vocal abilities and stage presence, saying, "You've got something very special." Dan was the recipient of this compliment. It was obvious that the Canadian crooner, who is well known for his ability to connect with a wide range of performers, was impressed by Dan's performance. Following that, Adam Levine, who has always been a rock star and has a strong ear for talent, was unable to resist. Excited with Dan's vocal control and his ability to retain an extraordinary sense of energy throughout the song, he spun his chair with the distinctive fervor that he is known for. Adam exclaimed with a big smile, "I fall in love with your vibe. That rock star energy that you exude is absolutely contagious," is what I said. Dan appeared to have an even greater increase in self-assurance as a result of Adam's compliments, which were both pleasant and inspiring. There was an instantaneous sense of compatibility between the two, and it was evident that Adam saw a great deal of potential in Dan. John Legend, an artist who has won multiple Grammys and is renowned for his beautiful voice and impeccable musical expertise, was not far behind. In his role as a coach, John possesses a remarkable talent for recognizing excellent vocalists who are capable of elevating their profession to the next level. In addition to expressing his admiration and support, he turned his chair upside down. "Your voice is powerful," John commented, recognizing Dan's vocal prowess during the conversation. It was quite evident that, in John's opinion, Dan's performance exhibited a level of skill that would be very thrilling to cultivate. Kelsey Ballerini, on the other hand, was the part that surprised everyone the most. The country pop diva, who is well known for her approachable attitude and distinctive musical style, was the fourth and final coach to press her button. Kelsey recognized something in Dan's performance that was congruent with her musical sensibilities, despite the fact that he had played a pop anthem. At that moment, she remarked, "I'm hearing so much heart in your voice." One of the things that sets you apart from other people is the fact that you have a connection with your audience that is unparalleled. The moment that Kelsey made the decision to turn around was a significant one, because it demonstrated that Dan's voice and stage presence had the ability to transcend genres and resonate with any coach. The moment of REPAA, discovering uncharted territory. Immediately following the conclusion of the performance, the coaches did not spare any time in expressing their enthusiasm for Dan. However, there was a surprise waiting for them. Everyone was on the edge of their seats when the host made the announcement that Dan had earned The Voice's very first REPAA of the season. This was the moment that everyone was so excited about. The replay is a one-of-a-kind feature of The Voice that allows the coaches to select to replay a contestant's performance under extraordinary circumstances. If the coaches believe that the contestant's performance was so remarkable that they felt it warranted another viewing, they can choose to replay the performance. Dan's audition was so significant that this extraordinary step was a testimonial to the gravity of the audition. Dan had earned this honor, according to the coaches, who were in complete agreement with one another. They desired to relive the moment, to take in each and every aspect of his performance to the fullest extent possible. This was not merely a response to his vocal skills, rather, it was a reaction to the palpable energy and connection that he brought to the stage. And remarkable accomplishment was accomplished by Dan when he was able to seize the spirit of high hopes and transform it into something that was totally his own. Everything in the room was left with a long-lasting impact as a result of the daring and self-assured performance that was given. At the moment when the replay button was clicked, the audience burst into cheers, and the coaches took a minute to express their respect for the events that had just taken place. Despite the fact that Dan has already established his position in the annals of The Voice history, the anticipation of what was to come for him is only growing. After receiving the first replay of the season, Dan Kiernan had made it abundantly clear that he was not a typical contender with his performance. The purpose of his performance was not simply to convince the coaches that he was capable of going far in the tournament. Rather, it was to demonstrate that he had what it required to be successful. However, Dan's experience on The Voice was just getting started at that point. Dan's ability to connect with his audience, to bring his enthusiasm and honesty to every stage he visited, was what set him apart from other performers. His vocal prowess was not the only thing that marked him distinct. With each passing round of the competition, it became abundantly evident that Dan was going to be a formidable opponent to contend with. Every time he gave a new performance, he would go to push the limits of what was possible and surprise not only his instructors, but also his admirers. Not only did Dan want to be recognized for his accomplishments, but he also wanted to demonstrate that he had faith in his own capabilities by obtaining the REPAA. At that very instant, he had demonstrated to himself and to the rest of the world that he possessed the qualities necessary to achieve success in the music industry. In addition, regardless of whether or not he succeeded in winning The Voice, Dan had already accomplished something of epic proportions. He had made the initial step towards making his goal a reality.